Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. Joining us on the phones, I think this is pretty cool. A new exhibit out at the Museum of Texas Tech University, an exhibit featuring Lubbock bootmakers that has opened up at the Museum of Texas Tech University. And joining us this morning on the phone is the curator of that exhibit, Dr. Jill Hoffman, here on the Chad Hasty Show. Dr. Hoffman, good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for joining us today. We saw the press release last week from the museum over at Texas Tech. One, we're glad that y'all are open and people can go out and enjoy the museum. But two, this is a pretty neat exhibit that you have over at the Museum of Texas Tech. Tell folks about this exhibit featuring Lubbock bootmakers.
Well, I just think boots are really beautiful and can be works of art. And I learned that the museum actually has several items that belong to Willie Lusk, who, if you don't know, helped to make Lubbock known to people famous and infamous. He was a bootmaker who learned his trade starting in San Angelo, where he was born in 1914. And he was a shoe shine kid at a boot store. And then he moved to Lubbock and was hired at Brown's Boot Shop. And he gained a reputation for doing really good work. And there was a notable Texas, Nevada gentleman named Benny Binion who loved to have boots made by Willie Lusk. And the story goes that one day he said, "So, Willie, why don't you have your own shop?" Willie Lusk said, "I don't have the $2,500 to open a shop." And supposedly Binion reached into his pocket and pulled out a wad of bills that would choke a horse, according to Binion's daughter, Brenda. And that's how Willie Lusk started his shop in 1946. And to collectors, a Willie Lusk boot is the top of the heap. There are major collectors of Lusk boots. And we had two of them who loaned to the museum for this exhibit several Lusk-made boots. And, it might be unusual to walk into a museum and see cowboy boots under a plexiglass bonnet where maybe you would expect to see Fabergé eggs. But I think these examples are just really beautiful. And it's just great to honor somebody who has a tie to Lubbock, who's a big part of Lubbock history, but I don't know that a lot of people know about him.
Right. And I thought the same thing when I saw the press release at first. I went, boots, really, at a museum, and then I started thinking about it more, and it's great history, and it's great history of Lubbock and of Lusk, and just as just the industry of boots. It's something that is history, and I think it's pretty cool to be featured in a museum.
Well, I do too, and I'm glad you think that. And I'm hoping maybe they need a break from politics and COVID, and they'll just come in and look at some beautiful examples of craftsmanship. The interesting thing about the Lusk boot is when you look at some of these, you have to remember they're 70, 80 years old, and his craftsmanship was superb. And so, of course, some of these have been well taken care of over the years, but even so, they just look so beautiful. It's so amazing to appreciate his craftsmanship. There's also a silent movie that a former librarian at Texas Tech made many years ago. His name was Frank Temple. He was a hobby movie maker, and he filmed Lusk making boots. And so we have that silent movie, thanks to the Southwest Collection at Texas Tech, where you can actually watch Willie Lusk making boots at his bench in his shop.
Wow.
The other interesting thing is that Lusk was a black man, and he had a successful business in an era when that wasn't always a common practice. And so it's just a really interesting story. The characters, the craftsmanship, and the people he made boots for, like Ronald Reagan and Robert Taylor and Shirley Temple.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. So the museum over at Texas Tech, y'all are open, correct? So what do the hours look like, and how much does it cost to see this exhibit?
It's always free at the museum, and we have cut our hours back to being open only on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 10 to 5. And so you've got this weekend, the next weekend, the next. The museum will close for the holiday at 5 o'clock on December 22nd, and we will reopen the week of January 4th. So there's a few opportunities to come see it, and we certainly welcome anyone who wants to come take a peek.
Yeah, and so does this exhibit runs through the end of January? Is that right?
Yes, and if they want any other information, they can check our website. You can just Google Museum of Texas Tech. We have a web page. There's exhibits, and you can find out all you need to know.
All right. Dr. Jill Hoffman, appreciate your time today, and we look forward to seeing the exhibit out at the Museum of Texas Tech.
Thank you, Chad, so much, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well. That's Dr. Jill Hoffman here on the Chad Hasty Show. Pretty cool exhibit, and like she said, historic, and Luscombe boots from everyone from Ronald Reagan and Shirley Temple, Benny Binion, and so many more. And it's a different type of exhibit than you would normally think of at the Museum of Texas Tech, but something pretty cool to go and see, and you can check that out. Again, they're open Thursday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and it's absolutely free to get in.